Buenos días. Les rogamos vayan tomando asiento. La Junta comenzará en unos minutos.
Ya, tuyo.
Buenos días.
Good morning. Please be seated. The meeting will start in a few minutes.
Buenos días.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your attendance to this general shareholders meeting of Mapfre SA. I would like to let all attendees know that the board of directors requested Mr. José María de Prada Guaita, notary, seated on the left side of the room to take minutes of this meeting. Before giving the floor to the secretary to give an account of the agenda, I would like to remind all of you that this general meeting is also being held digitally via our telematic platform set up for this purpose on our corporate website. This platform will allow shareholders to exercise their attendance, intervention, and voting rights. Voting through the platform will be open until the reading of the proposed resolutions is completed, which will be done by our secretary. In addition, I would like to let you all know that this general meeting is being openly broadcast online so that anyone interested, be they a shareholder or not, can follow it live from anywhere around the world. I now give the floor to the secretary to report on the agenda of today's meeting and other matters.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At 11:30 a.m. on March 14, 2025, in Madrid, at the Palacio Municipal de Congresos del Campo de las Naciones, Avenida de la Capital de España sin number, on first call with the possibility of telematic attendance is called. The announcement of the call was published. All members of the board are present. The call was announced on February 12, 2025, and it was done in the newspaper Expansión, on the website of the Comisión Nacional del Mercado de Valores, through communications of other regulated and corporate information, and on the company's corporate website, where it has remained uninterrupted since that date. So it is not necessary to read it again. This general shareholders meeting is presided over by Mr. Antonio Huertas Mejías, Chairman of the Board of Directors, and José Miguel Alcolea Cantos is Secretary of the Board of Directors, acts as Secretary. In summary, the agenda of the meeting includes the following items. First, annual accounts, application of results, and corporate management. Second, appointment, re-election, and ratification, as the case may be, of directors. Third, amendment of the company's bylaws. Fourth, reform of the regulations of the general shareholders meeting. Fifth, remuneration of board members. Sixth, approval and payment of the dividend of participation of shareholders in the GSM. And seventh, delegation of powers for the interpretation, correction, supplementation, execution, development, and elevation to public instrument of the resolutions adopted at the general shareholders meeting. The proposed resolutions formulated by the Board of Directors on the above items and corresponding reports have been available on the corporate website since the date of publication of the notice of the meeting. Shareholders present here who wish to vote against or abstain from voting on any of the proposed resolutions included in the agenda should go before the end of the reading of the proposed resolutions, which I will make myself, to the table located next to the first row of this room to their left. There, they should identify themselves with their national identity document before the notary so that he may record it in the minutes. Attendees participating telematically, so via remote, who wish to vote against or abstain in relation to any of the proposed resolutions submitted to the meeting may also do so up to the time of the reading of the proposals. This will be via the votación link of the telematic assistance platform set up for this purpose on our corporate website. And in any case, once the votes cast remotely, and in the case of proxies, The sense of the vote with respect to the different proposed resolutions as formulated by the Board of Directors have been duly processed, and the results will be provided to the notary. I would also like to remind you that shareholders wishing to intervene must first identify themselves and register with the notary, and must provide the notary with the written text of their address if they wish to have it recorded verbatim in the minutes. Shareholders attending via remote and wishing to speak must send their interventions in writing through the Speak at the General Meeting link of the telematic attendance platform, in accordance with the provisions of the notice of this meeting, expressly stating their wish to be recorded in the minutes if that is the case. All appropriate interventions made shall be read out in full or in summary and answered at this general meeting, or shall be answered in writing within 7 days after the date of the meeting.
The attendance list has been drafted, and we have accredited present or represented shareholders holding 2.550 billion shares, so the attendance quorum reaches 82.82% of our capital, being therefore enough for a valid calling of the general shareholders meeting on first call and to deal with all matters on the agenda. Therefore, the constitution of the general shareholders meeting is validly constituted to deal with all the matters on the agenda. Notary now has the floor to make the legally established statements.
Good morning. In compliance with the provisions of commercial legislation in force, I ask whether there are any reservations or protests regarding the statements of the chairman and the secretary regarding the number of shareholders attending the general shareholders meeting and the capital present and represented. Shareholders wishing to make reservations or protests in this regard may do so, in the case of those attending in person by approaching my table and leaving a record, and in the case of those attending by electronic means through the Register Objection link of the electronic attendance platform.
A continuación, se dirige.
We will now hear Mr. Fernando Mataverdejo, Mapfre's third Vice Chairman and Chief Financial Officer, who will now give us an account of the main figures of the consolidated financial statements for the year 2024 and the group's main achievements and projects in the economic and financial sphere. Ladies, gentlemen, shareholders, good morning. As we did last year, Mapfre is presenting its consolidated accounts according to the IFRS regulations, IFRS 9 and IFRS 17, as a listed insurance company, and which are the ones that are being subject to approval in this meeting. After my presentation, I will give you the most relevant figures from our operations under each country's applicable regulation. In any case, and no matter the applied criteria, I can let you know in advance that the economic indicators have shown a very satisfying behavior in a more favorable economic scenario and without significant one-off catastrophes. These are the three key figures that represent Mapfre's volume. Premium, insurance and reinsurance premiums are the basic figure from our activity and is up to 28.122 billion with a growth of 4.5%. Total income have reached 33,177 million, have grown by 2.9% and encompass beyond premiums income coming from investments and other activities. These two figures are disclosed under local applicable regulation. The income from our insurance services is a figure under international applicable regulation. This figure, which reaches 25,513,000,000 with a growth of 3%, is similar to our direct insurance and reinsurance premiums, but without including savings, life premiums, and other financial matters. These are the key figures for 2024 under IFRS criteria. A historical year for Mapfre, where I would like to underscore the increase in profitability with a net profit of 1 billion and a gross profit before taxes and external partners has overcome the 2 billion barrier for the first time. So we are very, very happy. As we usually do, we like to share good news with our about 200,000 shareholders, which have gotten 477 million euros this year. This figure allows us to pitch and propose our third consecutive dividend increase, as I will explain later. Insurance service income has grown up to 25.513 billion euros. Adapting to inflation is the key engine behind this growth, but our customer base in companies and in reinsurance has grown as well. Latin America is the key contributor, almost 9.5 billion and a growth of 2.2% in spite of its currency's devaluation. Especially Brazil, which represents about 50% of the region's income. Mapfre has gotten almost up to 8 billion, with a wonderful growth to our global risks and global risk reinsurance, and Iberia is close to 7.5 billion, a growth of 6.8%. Finally, North America and Europe, Middle East, and Asia have brought 2.753 and 1.286 billion, respectively. This is our profits laid out. We already talked about our income. Insurance service costs already include benefits, acquisition expenses, and other expenses, and they reach 22,077,000,000. Our reinsurance service, which includes premiums and collaterals and claims, has had a negative impact on Mapfre of 1.732 billion. These three concepts bring insurance and reinsurance figure that goes up to 1.704 billion. Our financial net results has gone up to 699 million, while other results, which include other incomes and expenses, other activities results as the impact of hyperinflation, have a negative figure of 303 million. The aggregate effect of all of these components offers a profit before taxes of 2.1 billion. If we get rid of the 512 million in taxes and external partners, which is 620 million, our attributable results is up to 968 million, 43% more than last year. I would like to remind you that these figures include the impairment of our goodwill in the third quarter in 2024 in vertical minute, and it hasn't had an impact on treasury generation, liquidity, or our dividend payout capacities. I would like to now mention the key figures of our balance. Total assets have grown by 3.2% and are over 56.7 billion. Our insurance contracts, which is our liabilities, which are similar to technical provisions, have grown by 3.7% up to 39.793 billion. Investments is also bolstered by the growth of our business as well as the improvement in our portfolio valuation. It's had a growth of 3.7% and goes up to 45.612 billion. As far as attributable net worth, we're talking about 8.889 billion and a growth of 5%. This is the evolution of our own net worth. The two first matters, the results of the year and dividends, are the usual aspects that have an impact on our net worth. The column tagged Others acknowledges the changes in certain investments and the liabilities of multi-year contracts for life and death, as well as conversion differences, which it reduces our capital by 69 million. This year, the dollar's strength has offset the devaluation of Brazilian real and Mexican pesos. When we talk about the profitability over our goodwill, ROE has gone up to 11.1%, and it would go over 12% without the impairment of our goodwill, which we already mentioned. Here we've got the information of our investments, including real estate and treasury. Most of our portfolio is related to fixed income and similar assets, which amount to 78% of the total. On the right-hand side, we have Mapfre's position on public debt, 23.308 billion, out of which 9.562 billion have been invested in Spanish public debt. This is our capital structure, over 12.65 billion, divided between our net worth, which is about 79% of the total, and our senior, subordinate, and banking debt included. Our debt ratio is at a very comfortable 21.1%. Our liquidity ratio, with figures updated on September 2024, remains solid on 202.4%, which is twice the minimum. 82.10% of our capital is of the highest quality, as we all know it is Tier 1. Our provisional liquidity data up to December 2024 and solvency show a ratio of about 203%. I will now discuss Mapfre's shareholder structure, our share information, and our dividend policy. On December 31st, 2024, Mapfre had about 200,000 shareholders who owned about 3 billion shares. As you all know, the main shareholder is Fundación Mapfre, which owns 69.8%. The rest, 17.2%, is under the purview of institutional shareholders, mainly foreign investors, while individual shareholders are 12.6%, which are mostly Spanish investors. And finally, Mapfre has 12 million in their own stock, which is about 0.4% of our capital. I will now talk about the evolution of our dividends. The results we've presented here allow us to keep one of our key identifiers, our commitment to paying out our shareholders. If this meeting approves the complimentary dividend of 9.5 cents, not 0.5 cents more than last year, the total dividend will reach 16 cents per share, which is 492.7 million euros and is a payout of 54.7%. This is the highest dividend Mapfre has ever paid out. As far as profitability is concerned, the dividends that were paid in 2024 have had a return on investment of 6.9%. Finally, I would like to remind you that in the last 5 years, Mapfre has devoted dividends over 2.2 billion, and as we always say, part of our DNA, always cash. This is Mapfre's share evolution. Our shares wrapped the year at 2.45 euros per share, which is slightly above 7.5 billion for capitalization. Throughout the year, the share has grown about 26%, beating very clearly IBEX 35 and stocks insurance, which encompasses the key insurers in the Euros area. If to this we add the profitability per dividend I mentioned earlier, the return on investment for our shareholders is above 30%. And well, 2025, these first 2 months, we've still had a good 2 months. Today we were up to 2.78. So in these 2 months, this means we've grown by 11%, which shows that the market has enjoyed our earnings. As far as financial indicators are concerned, earnings per share went up to 0.31 euro. The ratio between the price and the accounting value is at 84.7%, which means that Mapfre's cap at the end of the year had a discount of over 15% over their own net worth. So, well, again, 2025 has improved significantly, and as of today, our capitalization is over 8.3 billion, which is very close to the group's own capital. And finally, the PR in December 2024 went up to 7.8, which means that the market believes that Mapfre is 8 times better than its yearly earnings. As I said when I started talking, let me go over Mapfre's figures by following the local accounting law. Our premiums are above 28 billion with a growth of 4.5%. At a constant exchange rate, premiums have grown 6.6%. Total income are above 33 billion euro. The group's attributable profits has gone up to 902 million with a growth of 30%, based on a combined ratio of 94.4%, almost 3 points below an improvement of almost 3 points below that of last year. Here we can see, there we go, how our premiums are divided and the evolution of combined ratios based on a business-by-business basis. Non-life, we want to talk about the health and casualty insurance, reinsurance, and auto. Life insurance, we've grown with our premium rate has grown in a more relaxed way, given a fall in savings, but we keep a good growth, and we have to remind that 2023 had a wonderful savings sales year, especially in Mapfre Iberia. When we talk about our combined ratio, general insurance, 80.9%, that's an exceptional ratio, with a reduction of almost 7% points based on technical rigor and the lack of big-ticket catastrophes. I would like to underscore the stability of the last 3 years with generalized improvements in all relevant markets, and Brazil has had the most impressive technical profitability. Health and casualties has also had a positive behavior, 98.6%, and Iberia has 97.2%. Auto has improved its ratio, and while it's still above technical equilibrium, this year has shown a reduction of 1.4% points. 2 years ago, we had a great improvement in Brazil, and 2024, North America, with a ratio which is at 101% and a decrease, so an improvement of 6% points. I would like to underscore that Iberia's autos has performed very well in these first 2 months of 2025 with a ratio of about equilibrium of about 100%. Finally, our life risk ratio is very stable at a profitable level of 85.5%. Overall, we have a combined ratio below 95%, and so, this is important, we are improving our goals for our strategic plan. Here we see the premium distribution based on a result in region and business unit. So we've got Iberia, Spain, and Portugal has shown a growth of 3%, and premiums are above 9 billion. Earnings go up to 367 million with an increase of 1.6%. But the profit growth would have been 17% if we didn't take into account the one-off of the arbitration of our breakup with the alliance and with Bankia in 2023. Latin America is still the main driver for both premium and profits for the group. It has about 10 billion in premiums, divided basically equally between Brazil and other countries in the area. Brazil still shows very solid figures, and they've got earnings above 255 million, profits of 255 million, with a wonderful contribution on a technical as well as on a financial aspect. Other Latin America countries, premiums have grown 10.5%, while the net earnings are up to 152.7 million. Mexico and Peru have played a very important role, and they've gone over the 50 million figure in their net profit. North America premiums have gone up to 2.769 billion, a growth of 3.2%. It's had an improvement of about 100 million euros thanks to the US's good behavior. Mapfre Re has grown 6.7%, up to 8.382 billion euros. Both reinsurance as well as global risks have grown at a good, solid pace. And as far as earnings, Mapfre Re, these are the highest benefits ever, 325 million, an increase of 33% based on tariff recoveries, on rates recoveries, and the lack of big-ticket catastrophes. And I would like to underscore that we've reinforced our prudency levels and provisions when we take a look at the continuous increase of medium-intensity claims. On the right-hand side, you've got Modi's positive contribution, which has had a very good behavior in the last couple of years. Finally, even if we take IFRS as well as local accounting regulations, our figures show a positive trend on our most relevant indicators. And after these first 2 months, well, it would appear that 2025 will be a good year for the company. The ratings agency Fitch has improved Mapfre's economic position, which really underscores the positive evolution of our business. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time and the trust you've placed on the group. And overall, I would like to thank the board, the shareholders, for the honor that it is to have served you for the last 9 years. Once again, thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Fernando, for your talk. You've been crystal clear as always, and well, this was a wonderful ending with wonderful results in your career. I will now give the floor to Mr. José Manuel Inchausti Pérez, first Vice Chairman of Mapfre, to present other relevant events and actions corresponding to 2024.
Señoras y señores,
Ladies and gentlemen, shareholders, good day. Our Vice Chairman, CFO, has just provided details regarding Mapfre's numbers, which I think certify that last fiscal year was the best ever for the company. At the end, our president will share other thoughts and we'll talk about the evolution of our strategic plan. What I would like to address now are the more qualitative aspects, explain what Mapfre is doing with our main interest groups, and address a number of other issues which have to do with sustainability and with the group's social commitment. So let's begin by thinking about the engine. Over 30,000 employees whom we have working in over 40 countries with and for our customers. We are a country that benefits from the diverse talent that we manage and that comes to us from over 80 nationalities. The opportunities are fascinating, especially for the disabled, who make up 4% of our staff, thus overcoming not only the legal mandate but also our public commitment that we had formally engaged to. As to women, we continue to advance and solve our gender gap. We now have 35% of women in managerial positions, and as we said last year, we have closed the small pay gap that we, in fact, did have to tackle in the past. Mapfre is one of the companies that truly focuses on equality. Apart from our commitment vis-à-vis SDGs, we are one of the 484 companies in 45 countries and regions included in the Bloomberg Index, the so-called Gender Equality Index. As to senior talent, we are also a different company. In Spain, we launched some time ago Project Aging, which is geared to managing the knowledge and expertise of our more veteran employees, and also to facilitate an accompanied transition in the final years of activity. And thus, we've just launched the path towards retirement, which will ensure that over 60-year-olds who willingly participate will benefit from flexibility and the possibility of achieving a better work-life balance until they retire. As a consequence of our policies, I am delighted to share with you our satisfaction index among our employees, known as the ENPS, has reached 71%. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but this is excellent if we think about the fact that we are a large multinational. One of the indicators that best reflects pride of belonging is that over 4,900 persons who, apart from working with us, are shareholders, as are you, of Mapfre. They have decided voluntarily to invest some of their income, most in the past 5 years, in their own company. This is definitely telling regarding their trust and commitment vis-à-vis Mapfre. This is 45% of our staff in Spain. This is exceptional. I would dare say unique in a large company. And allow me finally to talk about our corporate volunteer program. We have 7,859 volunteers who have ensured over 18,000 actions, the highest ever, with an increase of 34% vis-à-vis last year. 28% of Mapfre professionals the world over, often enough with their families, have participated in a generous and solidary manner in one or more of the well-nigh 2,600 activities performed in 24. This also is non-pareil. This has allowed us to reach out to nearly 1,054,000 persons, 1,554. As we see, this, I think, ladies and gentlemen, says very much about the company, the values, the culture. Over 1/3 of our staff and their families are fully and actively engaged and committed. A round of applause. Thank you, thank you. But our employees are not the only persons to contribute to making Mapfre an ever better company. On a daily basis, we have over 87,000 mediators and over 135,000 vendors, suppliers of services, who help us initially to ensure that our products are available anywhere and everywhere, ensuring that our customers always have a person to respond to the needs, and secondly, to see that our commitment to service actually gels in the excellent manner that our clients expect. At this point in time, we are bombarded by publicity that attempts to reduce the importance and value of mediation. We need to express our new commitment vis-à-vis our agents and brokers. In 2024, and fairly enough, Mapfre has shared over 9 billion euros. That's a concept being fees and services. Before, I talked about the engine of the company being the people who make the company up, employees, mediators, vendors. And now I'm going to talk about our raison d'etre, our clients. Of course, what we say is that we care about what our clients care for. Mapfre continues to advance in its transformation to gain efficiency, but also and especially to improve the customer experience. And we do this by improving the relationship with a company, omnichannel. We increased by 31% our clients' outreach via our portals, our self-service portals, and secondly, by optimizing our response capability, bolstering the digitization of our processes, and improving the customer's digital experience. We are taking advantage increasingly of what new technologies make available to us. Thus, we hyper-personalize our value proposal, adapting it to the needs of each and every one of our customers. Mapfre runs digital on 4 brands: Mapfre, Verti, Maudi, and Savia. At the end of 24, accumulated growth has been practically 6%. We speed up the transformation of the group by means of a number of projects, among them an ecosystem of platforms, which we have called REEF, R-E-E-F, which allows multi-country scalability, thus allowing us to more efficiently focus on digitization of different markets, generating solutions that are easy to export and always complying our safety and security standards. We want to make as many options regarding accessibility available as possible, so we continue to bolster the development of digital assets. The aim is to make our customers' experience better. Our apps have grown the world over, especially Spain. Health, financial products, AFIN, and the Mapfre app have grown exponentially over the past 2 years, and now the market deems them to be best in class. All of this digital development speaks to the need of the necessity of having solid mechanisms that guarantee the integrity of our IT systems. Let me share with you the fact that our comprehensive security model has been reinforced thanks to the execution in 24 of our PCR, our cyber resiliency plan. We've also adapted the company to new mandates as established by European rules and DORA, D-O-R-A, which is in force as of January 17, Digital Operative Resilience in the Financial System. Innovation is always present in the company. Many of the practices which are now common were actually introduced by Mapfre back in the day. We need, of course, to think about transformation, and we want to be more cross-cutting in order to ensure that as efficiently and as quickly as possible, we onboard solutions that truly add value to Mapfre and clients. And there's over 4.4 million clients who have benefited from these solutions originated by Mapfre. We've collaborated with some 150 startups in projects such as IA assessment, virtual physiotherapy, or cyber risk products for SMEs and individuals. In 2024, CESVMAP, our mobility lab, has delved into the cyber risks involved in auto and in the field also of repairs, recovery, recycling of EV batteries. A number of awards, of course, have been the result because we do contribute to reducing the environmental impact of these vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence is really a revolutionary element in Mapfre. We have now over 1 million digital inspections, automating the tracking of documents for over 1.2 million clients, and we've ensured that over 40% of the transactions are actually dealt with by virtual attendants or assistants. What is truly striking is that service is better. It's over 115 use cases based on artificial intelligence, focusing on optimizing policy management, contract management, and benefits management. We, of course, are aware of the fact that Gen AI is going to be disruptive, and Mapfre is therefore extracting value in order to help our employees and collaborators do a better job, contributing to personalizing the relationship with the customer and keeping our operational activities more simple. And thus, we would like to address two notable novelties. They speak for Mapfre as a company that upholds values and ethics. So first, as we seek profitable and sustainable growth, we have launched the Centro de Inteligencia Artificial, the Artificial Intelligence Center, the aim being to achieve that transformation that will be the result of implementing AI. The center will also allow us to accelerate the building and reusing of use cases, integrating AI in our value chain with a tangible impact, always keeping in mind the very strict standards. And let's also keep in mind that we continue to strive to establish a solid data culture, which is essential for artificial intelligence to do a good job. And secondly, Mapfre is the first company in the IBEX 35 to have its own manifest on artificial intelligence. We are proud because we can prove that our slogan, which is "We care for what you care for," is more than just a slogan. It allows us to insist on the fact that AI may well be adopted and implemented, as we see on screen, from a humanistic, ethical, and responsible forecast and perspective, ensuring that it is people-centric. And thus we have 5 principles. This is the manifesto. Run a hybrid AI model which encompasses the capacities of persons, and AI is used as a facilitator. Develop projects and solutions in accordance with responsible and accountable principles and always keeping good governance in mind. Protect information and safeguard confidence and trust, fostering an ethical, transparent, reliable, safe, and respectful AI. Foster a future that is creative and progressive, where people can develop and truly leverage their potential, and align AI development with proprietary and public sustainability commitments, always keeping in mind the environment and social elements. Let me now talk about our commitments regarding our sustainability plan. At the end of 24, we have made good on the plan to the tune of 100%. In the first part of my address, I already spelled out some of the achievements, and in the information that we have made available to your good selves for this session, you have all of the information. So let me just very briefly address other achievements. The environment. If we think of base year 22, we have reduced by 25% our carbon footprint. This reduction is due to the efforts undertaken by the group to continue to advance towards the decarbonization of the economy, not only by means of investments and subscriptions, but also with measures that aim to reduce the footprint directly. As to social action, we're a company, as Mapfre, engaged and committed, has more of a possibility of transforming the lives of people. I have underscored progress achieved with regards to employees, and this and to our policies that look at equal rights, inclusion, and diversity. I've also said that we reach out to all of the groups whom we have a relationship with, especially those linked to the value chain. In 24, we have assessed over 13,400 vendors. We believe it's essential to continue to invest in financial education, insurance culture, and accessibility to insurances, and that's what we're doing. We have a number of programs and channels, and last year we reached out to over 135 million persons, and this with our own contents. As to making insurance accessible, we foster inclusive projects and continue to develop products and services that encourage accessing to insurance of those segments of the population who have lesser income. And we are aware of the fact that we are investors and that we do provide insurance, and we want to mobilize resources to have, at the end of the day, a more equal and sustainable world. We therefore need to develop services and products that provide a response to the risks and opportunities in the fields of social, environmental, and good governance. And thus, I'm happy to point out that at the end of 24, over 99% of our investment portfolio is, in fact, under the umbrella of ESG. This meeting today is the sixth that is sustainable and the third that is carbon neutral. Let me wrap up by saying that yes, we are committed internationally, and yes, we are committed to the group's sustainability plan. I would like now to share some information regarding the brand and the company's reputation. We are Spain's 10th most valuable brand and the 6th most robust in national terms in all sectors and activities, and this in accordance with brand finance. This is what they published most recently. The value of the brand has grown by 15% vis-a-vis last year. According to this company, the Brand Finance Insurance 100, we are 33 globally as most valuable brand among all of the insurance companies of the world, and we are the only Spanish company in this ranking. We are number 5 in Spain in the 100 companies with the best reputation, this according to MERCO, and of course, we are leaders in our field. And as to talent, Mapfre is number 9 of the 200 rated companies. And we are number 1 in insurance of the Merco Talento ranking in Spain. There are other indices in companies that are great to work for. We are among the top 10 in most countries, and in some countries at the very head of the list of insurance companies. And finally now, let me perhaps touch your hearts. It definitely touches my heart. Let me talk to you about Fundación Mapfre, and let me share with you a milestone. Fundación Mapfre is now in its 50th year of providing service to companies. There are very few companies in our times who can actually think about commemorating a century, and Mapfre is now 92 years old. There are very few foundations that can provide solid proof of a half a century of service to the have-nots and contribution to social progress, and we are one of them. At Fundación Mapfre, we have been working to improve lives for 50 years, 5 decades during which the world has completely transformed. We have seen times of triumph and of loss. Walls have been torn down. Rights have been recognized. We celebrated times when countries came together. We celebrated times when countries did come together indeed. We weathered times of economic crises. We endured times of separation, the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot can change in 50 years. But there is one thing these times have in common. The tireless efforts of Fundación Mapfre and its people. More than 290 million euros in social aid, more than 278 million euros in art and culture, 176 million in awareness campaigns, 166 million euros in research, 154 million euros in educational programs, 7 million euros in volunteering. In total, more than 1.1 billion euros. And yet that number does not compare to the satisfaction we feel when helping others. Fundación Mapfre, 50 years building a more humane present and future.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. 5 decades ago, we thought that there was a clear path ahead of us to improve the life of those who most need it. The world has changed very much, but this mission continues to stand proud. Ever since the beginning of its activities, the Foundation conceives solidarity as a value and believes firmly in education as a process to evolve society. And thus, over these 50 years, we have worked to eradicate poverty, and it has been present in its assistance in limited situations, such as those that resulted from the pandemic and natural catastrophes, which unfortunately, are increasingly frequent. Before I conclude, I would like to say thank you to Julio Domingo Soto, a colleague, a friend, over 35 years devoted to Mapfre, of which the past 9 have been devoted to the Foundation, and this Monday, March 10, has retired. And this coincides with his 65th birthday. Julio Domingo held important positions in Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Chile, Mexico, and Spain, among other countries. Thanks to his expertise and extraordinary team, Fundación Mapfre has transformed and is now one of the most important foundations in Spain and Latin America. Apart from saying thank you from the Mapfre Board of Trustees, I have to say so openly in front of all of you, a life devoted to the company. Thank you very much, my dear, dear Julio Domingo.
Para sustituir a Julio Domingo.
And in substitution of Julio Domingo Soto, the Board of Trustees of Mapfre has selected Elvira Vega, an expert who actually began her professional career at the Foundation and who will henceforth be the Director General. Thank you and good luck, Elvira. We're very proud of what we've built. We're very grateful to those who have walked with us, and we're very excited when we think about the future. This would not be possible without your support, and thus I beseech all of you to feel very proud of our activities. Thank you for being a part of it, and let's continue building a more humane future together. Thank you very, very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Jose Manuel, for your report and the fascinating quality of the matters and aspects we've developed in 2024. The resolutions we are submitting to this general meeting have been published on our corporate website ever since we called this general shareholders meeting. However, I'd like to briefly mention some of them specifically. First, we proposed to the general meeting the re-election of Ms. Ana Isabel Fernandez Alvarez as independent director for a new 4-year term, and to ratify the appointment of Mr. José Luis Pereira Alonso as independent director, who was appointed by the co-optation procedure on June 26, 2024, effective July 4th of that same year, and his re-election again for a 4-year term. These proposals have been submitted to the board by the Nomination and Compensation Committee. In addition, we would like to bring to the meeting the re-election of Mr. Francisco José Marco Orenes as property director for a new 4-term year, and the appointment of Mr. José Luis Jiménez Fajardo as executive director, also for a 4-year term, to replace Mr. Fernando Mataverdejo, who will resign as director and third vice chairman after the holding of this meeting. These proposals have been favorably reported by the Appointments and Remuneration by the Nominations and Compensation Committee. In this regard, I would like to highlight Mr. Jimenez's high level of professional experience and his worth, which he proved in 9 years at Mapfre, as well as his great technical training and know-how and excellent performance throughout these years as Deputy Chief Financial Officer, as well as CIO. On the other hand, we propose to the shareholders to approve the consolidated statement of non-financial information sustainability of Mapfre and its subsidiaries, which is included in Mapfre's consolidated management report and which has been prepared in accordance with the Directive on Corporate Information on Sustainability and the European Sustainability Reporting Standards. It also complies with the requirements of the Spanish Commercial Code, the Spanish Companies Act, the Spanish Audit Act, and all other applicable regulation. The report provides a comprehensive overview of Mapfre, its business model, the challenges ahead and risks, and its social, environmental, economic, and governance performance. We also propose the payout of a final dividend of 9.5 euro cents per share. And when we take into account the amount of shares, the final dividend payout would amount to 292.6 million euro. The interim dividend for 2024, which was paid last November, was 6.5 euro cents per share and amounted to 200.2 million euro. So the sum of the interim and final dividends for 2024 results in a payment of 16 cents per share, 6.7% than the payment for 2023, a total amount paid out in dividends for 2024 of 492.7 million euro and a payout of 50.9% for that same year. This proposal, within the established range in our dividend policy, is the largest dividend in Mapfre's history. On the other hand, we propose the reform of the bylaws and the regulations of the General Shareholders Meeting to, among other things, we can promote the involvement of shareholders in corporate life, update the regulations of our main corporate bodies, the Shareholders Meeting and the Board, and incorporate a series of technical modifications coming from new regulations and the best practices in governance. The Board's report on these proposals has been made available to the shareholders on our corporate website since the date this meeting was called. Furthermore, and as a new aspect this year, we submit the concept of a director's remuneration policy for a total amount of 0.15 euros per share if the quorum reaches at least 81%, of our social capital. As has happened, I told you at the beginning that the real quorum was of 82.2%, well above that figure. And we will approve Article 22 of the bylaws, including point 3.3 of the agenda. Participation dividend aims to encourage and stimulate the participation and attendance of shareholders to our General Shareholders Meeting, and is part of the initiatives that Mapfre is implementing to strengthen its effective involvement of its shareholders in corporate life. In this respect, I would like to say that the amount of shareholders that have come to this meeting is a historical record, multiplying by 5 the ones that we saw last year. And, as I mentioned earlier, we went above that figure. The Board would like to sincerely thank you for your participation. And we also bring to the approval our Director's Remuneration Policy for the 2025 to 2028 period. This policy builds on previous Director Remuneration policies. However, while revising it, driven and led by the Nomination and Remuneration Committees, a series of improvements have been implemented in order to adapt the wording and format the report to best market practices, to ease its understanding by different stakeholders, and to provide greater detail on fixed and variable remuneration of executive directors, and finally, to provide more information on the criteria for accrual and determination of the amount of variable remuneration of these directors and its links to Mapfre's results, as well as in the social welfare systems that are part of their remuneration. Now, in accordance with the third recommendation of the Good Governance Code of Listed Companies, I will proceed to explain why Mapfre S.A. has not fully complied with some of its recommendations for 2024. Firstly, the powers of the coordinating director do not include coordinating the succession plan for the chairman, as this is the responsibility of the Nomination and Remuneration Committee, nor that of keeping in touch with shareholders and investors, since the board itself is responsible of establishing and monitoring the appropriate mechanisms for communication and shareholders' relations. To wit, it approved the policy and communication with shareholders, institutional investors, and voting advisors, and communication of economic, financial, non-financial, and corporate information. Secondly, when it comes to the recommendation of separate appointments and remuneration committees, Mapfre considers it advisable to maintain the skills related to nominations and remuneration in the same committee because the knowledge and experience of the current members of the Nomination and Remuneration Committee are suitable for the analysis of both aspects in a unified manner. Third, as for the recommendation, the attribution to a board committee to establish and supervise adequate communication and shareholder relation mechanisms, Mapfre has given these skills to the board of directors, as mentioned earlier. As for the recommendation of keeping the directors for a minimum of 3 years of shares, options, or financial instruments from remuneration systems, Mapfre considers that this obligation is good enough to have them keep them for a maximum period of 2 years, as it has also established that the delivery of such shares is also subject to a 60% deferral for a period of 3 years in thirds on a yearly basis. Finally, when it comes to directors' payment for the termination or extinction of their contracts, and these don't exceed an amount equivalent to 2 years of their annual remuneration, termination of an executive director entails the lifting of the suspension of the relationship prior to their appointment. As such, therefore, early termination of such prior relationship entails, unless there is a justified cause for fair dismissal, a severance payment under the terms established by the Workers' Statute in relation to unfair dismissals, which in the case of some executive directors who have employment contracts prior to December 2012 and therefore are prior to the formulation of this recommendation, the Good Governance Code of Listed Companies, which could be above 2 years payment. In the case of external directors, there are no severance payments as a result of termination.
Pasamos al turno
Okay, now the intervention time. In accordance with the provisions of the rules and regulations of the General Shareholders Meeting, we will now open the floor to any attendees who have requested to speak. Please do not exceed the 5 minutes established in our rules of procedure in order to ease the flow of this meeting. 2 attendees have requested to speak in person, and they've sent their interventions throughout the morning, and 1 telematic attendee who did so via our platform. The physically present attendees will be given the floor in the order they requested, and then we will read, if applicable, which we will, all telematic interventions. And if possible, we will provide the appropriate information or clarifications requested. Those valid requests for information that are not answered at this meeting will be answered within 7 days following the date of termination of this general meeting, in accordance with the provisions of applicable regulations. And given the contents, we believe we'll be able to answer all of them. First, I give the floor to Mr. Inerarati García. Ibarrondo. Sorry, Mr. Inerarati García. Whenever you want.
Muchas gracias.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I have a question which is as follows. You've always said that you're concerned about how difficult it is to save for retirement in the case of your average Spanish citizen, but you seem to have now evolved from savings to speculative investment. You've developed unit-linked products and alliances with Avanti. My question is, what are your expectations regarding growth? Is there a change in strategy? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Inarrate Garcia. Well, the fact of the matter is that no, there is no change in the strategy by any specific conditions on Mapfre's specific situation. Well, markets, financial markets, have evolved in these coming years. We come from a low interest rate environment, which lasted a long time after the 2008 recession. And this, of course, has made insurance companies who get money in order to invest it and ensure that the vested interests are protected, as opposed to banks who have loan structures that allow them to manage their cash flow in a completely different way. Our philosophy is to try and ensure the maximum profitability for customers in the most efficient way and offering competitive products, not only that products that can be improved, that improve what the insurance market offers, but what the banking market offers, which are also referenced. And I will mention this later, but in any case, I can tell you that we are managing about 60 billion euros, and we've got about 14 billion devoted to technical provisions, and we are the largest private independent insurance company when it comes to managing these assets. So we have all sorts of product structures, those that are devoted to a more conservative profile, to those that are related to investment and that want to respond to more demanding savers. But now we're seeing a change in our cycle in order to foster development, and central banks, not Latin America's central banks specifically, who are following a different policy, but definitely American and British and European central banks are reducing their interest rates. And, well, of course, this means we find ourselves in a new situation when it comes to guaranteeing and keeping products that can guarantee a good return on investment on the medium and long term for our investors, because, as we all know, what we want to do is to always think of this medium and long term development. But we believe that we've got insurance solutions, and the ones that we are developing in order to respond to this cycle change, and products that go from, well, better known like unit link or traditional when it comes to PPAs that came out a few years ago, or ILPS, which ease our customers' way of maximizing their fiscal positions. And we're also working on social company provision, which we believe, well, we've got savings and pension funds, and we've got an alliance, and I'll mention it later, with Avante, which is one of the key managers, one of the key savings managers in our country. And we've got other initiatives we've implemented, but I want to say that there aren't any changes. We want to ensure that our investors and our savers can keep the bulk of their investment and get proper return on their investment with insurance solutions which are always unique and which they can't always develop them, and which insurance companies, Mapfre specifically as a private insurer, can manage this. So thank you very much for your question.
Ahora tiene.
We now give the floor to the next shareholder who asked, which was Ms. Rasti Ibarrondo. Whenever you want, Ms. Rasti.
President.
Good morning, sir. I have a question which is as follows. Mapfre's numbers are nearly 9 billion, and this will affect it, do you think, the dividend, do you think?
Thank you. You say that we should be able to pass these billions, and we believe that Mapfre's gross profit has been 2 billion, which is, I want to say this because partner has two kinds of partners. First, we have every single country state where we are, because we always generate, we contribute very generously to states. They're our first partner, thanks to, all of the taxes, or our corporate tax and all income. So that's part of the 2 billion we generate. And then we've got partners we're very proud of in many countries, which, with whom we also participate. And Mapfre's dividend, and I'll mention this in my report, this is a dividend which has grown in the last years, and only twice throughout the year, the ending of the previous decades, end of the crisis and COVID, thanks to what supervisors told us, we only had a reduction there. The rest of the time, we've kept that dividend, and we've got this in these last 3 years. So we've had a constant increase of this dividend. And of course, this was part of my later intervention, but I will tell you now. Of course, as our profits grow, our commitment to keep this payout we've committed to, which is 50%, that would mean we could obviously increase that dividend if those results can be improved, which we believe we can improve based on the information that previous people have mentioned, and as I will say later, I think we can. Thank you very much. And we now have the third question, which was sent online, which is very long. I'm going to summarize it, which is based on this interest on what we're fostering Mapfre's interest in connecting its shareholders more to the company itself. So the shareholder, Mr. Juan Antonio Mena Moreno, asks or proposes the possibility of shareholders getting specific benefits for being shareholders, and especially he mentions one which I think is interesting, which is that like we have in different entities, I think he's talking about different non-insurance entities which can have a special price in products. So, for example, a special insurance, so cheaper insurance for shareholders, while the shareholders, who I believe are also Mapfre customers, they want us to think on this and the possibility of offering goods and services that are slightly cheaper than the competition. I would like to add, even though Fernando Mata will answer, that the prices and services Mapfre offers are usually very competitively priced. I'm not going to say if they're cheaper than our competitions. That's very generic, and you've got a lot of different competitions. But so this is the question our shareholder has asked, and this is what they say. Yeah, no. Thank you very much for your question. And thank you for the suggestion, which we will take into consideration. And I would like to remind everyone, 2017, 2018, we created the Shareholders Club in Mapfre, the Club Accionista, which are shareholders, all shareholders can access here in Spain, but I think that restricted by 1,000 shares, and really this offers an added value. It's a club related to our Te Cuidamos Club for all our insured people here in Spain. And I would like to encourage you to get in touch with our investors and analyst department, because any suggestions to improve this, anything, or the accrual of shamrocks. This is something we can implement, but welcome to this club, which already has about 7 or 8 years old, and our investors club. And we will keep on improving to their suggestions. So thank you for your suggestion. And just like other shareholders, we will analyze and we will try and improve our profile. Thank you. Yeah, well, no, I would just like to add that maybe insurance aren't just any product. They're regulated and monitored and supervised. So fees are related to the supervision of, well, in this case, the authority on insurance. So there are technical matters, and in this case, Mapfre tries to do it. That being said, we will analyze this and we will try to add this, and we will try to take a look at the advantages Mapfre shareholders have. And well, I understand that there are no more comments, so we believe that there are no more questions, so we close this. So I will now give the floor to the secretary.
Thank you, sir. In order to determine the result of the voting on the proposed resolutions which were included in the agenda of the notice of the meeting, we will use the negative deduction system, whereby those shareholders who have not expressly stated their vote against or abstention to the notary, as indicated at the beginning of the meeting, will be deemed to have voted in favor of each proposed resolution. The full text of the proposed resolution submitted to this general shareholders meeting has been made available to all shareholders since the date of the call and delivered to the notary, so, in view of their length, I will read them in summary form. And they are as follows. First, annual accounts, application of results, and corporate management. Within this item, the following points are submitted separately. Firstly, approval of the annual financial statements and the individual and consolidated management reports for fiscal year 2024. Second, approval of the consolidated statement of non-financial information and sustainability information of Mapfre S.A. and its subsidiaries for fiscal year 2024. Third, the approval of the following proposal for the application of results and the distribution of the dividend corresponding to fiscal year. Help them out. The individual result of Mapfre S.A. amounts to a total profit of 704.2 million euros, of which 492.7 million euros would be allocated to dividends and 211.4 million euros to retained earnings. And finally, within this, for one, discharge of the Board of Directors. Second, appointment, re-election, and ratification, as the case may be, of directors submitting the following proposals to a separate vote. The re-election of Ms. Ana Isabel Fernandez Alvarez as independent director. Ratification and re-election of Mr. Jose Luis Pirelli Alonso as independent director. Re-election of Mr. Francisco Jose Marco Orenes as proprietary director. Appointment of Mr. Jose Luis Jimenez Guajardo Fajardo as executive board member. Third, amendment of the company bylaws, submitting the proposed amendments to a separate vote as set forth in the notice of the meeting. Fourth, amendment of the regulations of the general shareholders meeting, submitting the proposed amendments to a separate vote as set forth in the notice of the meeting. Fifth, remuneration of the board members. Under this item, the following proposals are submitted to a separate vote of the general shareholders meeting. Approval of the directors' remuneration policy for the period 2025 until 2028, and endorsement of the 2024 annual report on directors' remuneration. Sixth, approval of the payment as a participation dividend linked to the involvement of the shareholders in the general shareholders meeting of a cash dividend charged to unrestricted reserves of 0.15 euro cents gross per share, subject to the quorum for this meeting reaching 81% of the share capital and the approval of new Article 22 of the company's bylaws as included in item 3.3 of the agenda. Seventh, authorization and delegation of powers for the interpretation, correction, supplementation, execution, development, and elevation to a public instrument of the resolutions adopted at the meeting. As I indicated earlier, the voting period for the proposed resolutions is now closed. In view of data available, it can be seen that all the proposed resolutions of the Board of Directors have the favorable vote of a number of shares that is, in all cases, higher than the majority required by law and the company's bylaws for their approval.
Por lo tanto,
Therefore, I hereby declare all proposed resolutions formulated by the board to be approved. The results of the voting will be published on our corporate website within the legally established period. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank you for your trust. And before addressing you for the closing, I would like to thank to the people who joined us today for the first time, José Miguel Alcolea, who is our new General Secretary from April 1st, 2024, filling in the shoes of Ángel Damià, his predecessor. And the fact is that the Secretary General, along with his Vice Secretary General, Martín Las Asturias, and the whole General Secretary team, as is always done, but in this case, with a bigger challenge given the situation and the intensity and the depth of the statute changes, which I already mentioned, for a myriad reasons, have been, well, really important and have been developed very effectively, very positively, and I would like to say that even brilliantly so. Acting as a secretary for this general shareholders meeting, well, I think that has passed with flying colors, so thank you very much.
señoras y señores accionistas,
Ladies and gentlemen, shareholders all, thank you so very much for participating, for being here today, and especially thank you for the trust you place in us. We've said it, we repeat it, 2024 has been a fantastic year for our group. We heard from our financial manager, our first vice president, our CFO. We've heard that we have practically achieved every single one of the indicators, and especially, and more important, record numbers in terms of premiums, income, and profits. Never before had Mapfre surpassed 33 billion in revenues and 2 billion gross profits. As we will see afterwards, our new strategic plan deployed last year has fostered the achievement of all of our public commitments. And all of this despite the fact that the setting is one in which inflation, especially auto and health, has really persisted throughout a goodly portion of the last fiscal year in many markets, and also geopolitical conflicts which have continued to threaten economies and threaten and slow down growth and social prosperity. It's true, and Fernando Mata said, that weather has been very important, but less so than on other occasions on our numbers. But we continue to advise regarding the economic consequences of these claims, moderate as they may be, increasingly frequent and difficult to foresee. We have to, of course, make a reference to the most important damages suffered in Spain. The claims resulting from the Dana, the flash floods at the end of October, destroyed a part of the Spanish coastline, and the tragic results were 225 victims and damages in excess of 3 billion. Mapfre, and we know that this is going to be an issue. We know that we can rely on the consortium, and the premiums have allowed us to deal with the issue. Mapfre has over 400 branch offices in the Comunidad Valenciana, and all of them made themselves available to all Valenciano citizens, insured or not, and provided help. All of the technical centers of Mapfre in Spain, who remotely received over 60,000 claims and sent them to the consortium for ultimate payment. Our model is close to the citizen, close to the client. Over 3,000 branches in our country allows us to stay very close to all Spaniards. At the very most, a quarter of an hour away from any Spanish family. We are there when you need us. We have seen how very many other insured persons from other companies have not been taken care of. They have had to deal with bank branches, call centers, websites, which in some instances were closed for days or couldn't deal with the job involved. We remained open as many hours as possible every day, including weekends, and some of them had been destroyed, and they had to set up shop wherever they could. But we were there helping out, whether insured or not, and often enough, the homes, the relatives of our employees in our branches were involved. We have been there, we have suffered, we have cried. We have been there shoulder to shoulder with our Valencian friends and families, helping to rebuild that wonderful part of the country. A wonderful example of what Mapfre is, what we are, what we can do, and what sets us apart from everyone else. But let's continue now, if you allow me. We are proud of what we've done. We're proud of our actions. The results achieved, the progress achieved by Mapfre during the past fiscal year. We like to underscore the fact that our global model, which is multi-line of business, multi-channel, well-diversified geographically, is the best possible guarantee to deal with complex settings, very different ones, in which insurance, of course, has to do its job and assume volatility and uncertainty, which affects our clients. And now, let me very, very quickly address what has been achieved in the main lines of action in different regions and different units the world over. And I will also share with you the main challenges that we need to overcome in each one of them. It's been a very good year for Mapfre, but that's not going to slow us down, and we're not going to ignore the difficulties we face. We know that we have as yet not provided a solution to the auto reality in many countries. We know, but initial data from 2025 confirmed that we are on the right track. The implemented measures are the right measures. Of course, we have to proceed very cautiously so as not to worsen the trust and relationship that we are building with our customers. But we're a global group. We have a presence in 38 countries, and as I say, our diversification strengthens us, and thanks to this, the combined ratio last year was less than 95%, the lower part of our objective. And this despite the fact that autos, of course, can improve. Let me especially focus on Spain, Brazil, the United States of America, Mexico, Peru, Colombia, or Turkey, among others. But let me also talk about reinsurance and major global clients that have been tremendous engines for growth and profitability. In Latin America, we are the leading multinational, and as you can see, they are the main contributor, over 400 million. Good results have been the norm in practically all of the countries where we have a presence. In Spain, specifically, we have continued to grow and bolster our leadership position. As I said at the beginning of my address, our territorial structure actually allows us to be pretty well everywhere. We are everywhere. We are close to everyone. And that is what we believe insurance should be like. That is Mapfre. We saw it in Valencia, not only with the flash flood Dana, but also during that tremendous fire, the Campanar fire. Unfortunately, 10 persons lost their lives and 150 families lost their homes in just barely 2 hours. The telephones, the banks, the websites weren't very good there. The fact that we were there providing assistance and doing it personally, well, we are still touched, and it's been a year. But of course, after it rains, there's always a silver lining to the clouds, and that's how now these houses are being rebuilt. Families are returning to their homes thanks to insurance, thanks to Mapfre. And this I have seen myself because just recently I visited the building and I met with representatives of the parties involved. But let's continue to enjoy our progress in Spain. Despite the complex and competitive scenario, Mapfre has again grown more than the market has. It's difficult to compete against practices. Simplification of the product and the service. How to fight against those who say that they're a little bit cheaper than we are. At least that's what they advertise, without taking into account the importance of being there physically and without taking into account the importance of brokers, the intermediary who guarantees quality, or those who are proud of the fact that if you don't have an expert advising you, you're going to save more money. Of course, that's not us. Of course, that's going to stop us from sending a handful more policies. But we believe that our customers are smart. Our customers now are customers of the future who are not going to allow themselves to be tricked by marketing campaigns with messages that tarnish our activity and that of our own mediators. We know that our customers like to have that personal, multi-channel direct advisory service at the branch, over the phone, the excellent attention we pay, because we know how important it is to treat our customers well, treat our customers as individuals, strengthening the relationship that binds them with us and ensuring that the price paid for our service is the price paid for the insurance. We should talk about life, savings, and advisory services, and also corporate, because we are leaders there as well. We have grown fantastically well, and we have improved the profitability. The opportunities are there, and we're going to foster bank assurance with our partners, Bank Inter and Banco Santander, autos and SMEs, respectively. Now, I could talk for hours about the very many things we do in our country, but allow me to address something that we have just tackled and that we are very proud of. For the first time ever, the King's Cup has a last name, Copa del Rey Mapfre, because we are exclusive sponsors. And also the Queen's Cup, Copa de la Reina. We're very happy. This is a very important tournament or competition. Hundreds of teams, modest, representing people and smaller cities who work to compete and to become giant killers. Proud of their teams. Small, humble players who represent that Spain which is less peopled, not sufficiently acknowledged, but always well-liked and so necessary. Mapfre Portugal. A word about Mapfre Portugal. A good year in terms of growth and in terms of profits alike.
Vicepresidente tercero. En España,
As we heard, in Spain in 2025, we are nearly back to normal in auto, with combined ratios that are less than last year's. That's why we believe we're going to continue to grow. And we're going to focus on managing the client and digital and operational transformation. And in Mapfre, we're a little bit different. We don't necessarily do what's fashionable. Others don't necessarily have a branch, but we are different, as I say, and I repeat. We're going to be opening in the upcoming 3 years more than 300 offices or branches. We have now over 3,000. We're going to grow. We're going to be there, physically near, by our clients with an omnichannel model, which is increasingly efficient in terms of digital and IRL. And let's talk a little bit about Latin America. Again, and we repeat this is the region that most contributes to the group in terms of premiums and in terms of earnings. And 2024 also is the best in its history. That's over 40 years now. In Brazil, an exceptional year. Again, encouraged by farm, auto, and life. Again, this result is thanks to the combined ratio in practically all of our lines of business. These numbers, which in euros were affected by the depreciation of the real, were achieved because the floods were dealt with, the terrible floods in Rio Grande do Sul. Mapfre, again, proved to be resilient and able to provide technical expertise. Excellent results achieved with Banco do Brasil, our partner. We work very smoothly thanks to Brazil SEG. And our company, Mapfre Seguros, continues to grow profitability because the combined ratio in auto has been reduced. It's true that high rates, funding, and consumer have suffered in this country, and this in 2024 has resulted in a negative GDP and a lesser distribution of insurance product in the bank networks. And this, of course, has affected farm because of prices and because of the difficulty that farmers have to achieve these objectives. In 2025, the macro expectations for Brazil are positive, although, of course, there are challenges such as inflation and fiscal balance, high rates, and rate of exchange volatility. The strategy for Mapfre Brazil focuses on growth. We need to bolster our market leadership. We need to continue to improve on our operational and commercial efficiency, especially focusing on those mechanisms to distribute, improving the customer experience and increasing the operational excellence thanks to new technologies that will help us to develop new services. And in other Latin American countries, 2024 has also been a wonderful year. Practically all of the countries, with the exception of those which have hyperinflation, achieved very good results. In Mexico, we grew healthily despite the depreciation of the peso, and we achieved the best results ever since we landed in Mexico some 35 years ago. Health and life are doing nicely. We are outperforming the competition thanks to our very robust distribution network and a bolstered product portfolio. In September, we acquired Insignia Life, a new company that onboards agents in Mexico. Life insurance is important in the country. Another very important country for Mapfre is Peru, which continues to leverage the opportunities we have thanks to the excellent position, its diversification, and its management clout. The results can only be described as magnificent. This company will have to improve and adapt its internal operations to its growing scope. In Colombia, we see a country where we did face difficulties in the past, but now it has grown its capacities, achieving excellent growth and excellent results as well. The earnings are great, and this has us thinking about our presence in the country. We aim to grow more actively in the near future in Colombia. Central America, also very good results. A solid improvement in our technical profitability and efficiency by implementing structures and processes that are shared. In the Dominican Republic, we continue to perform very well indeed, and we've launched a very ambitious growth plan in bank assurance, and this in alliance with our partner, our dear friends at Grupo BHD. This should allow us to continue to grow our presence in the country. And I have to, of course, make a reference to the excellent results of Chile and Uruguay. Again, we are hopeful for this new year. This being the case, in Latin America, we look forward to 2025. We're very excited. We feel that we are on a very solid basis. The performance and the technical capacities in the region allow us to think of growth, maintaining the excellent current margins. We're going to continue to try to improve the maturity of our transactions. We're going to bolster internal control and the quality we offer to our clients by reusing models and resources at a regional level, standardizing multi-country platforms, which will allow us to streamline efficiency and bolster the talent. And we need to underscore the importance of our new tech platform, REEF, which has been implemented with some products in 4 countries. The cloud-based technology allows for much quicker developments and implementations than we were used to. And of course, we achieve real improvements in terms of efficiency and costs in excess of 50%. And this is thanks to the reusability of the solutions. And thus we have approved the launch of a new plan for this platform involving 11 countries with an investment in excess of 65 million euros, which will allow us to really do things differently and leverage technology in these operations and transactions that we will be carrying out. Let's look at North America now. Mapfre USA. The fiscal year has been normal, which is great if you think about the size of the country. The growth is reasonable, and the results, the earnings have been excellent. Once we solved the auto and home insurance issues. And thus we are executing a plan which is being very successful, which rests on 5 pillars: tariffs and rates, subscription, cost cutting, talent onboarding, and reassurance. But it's very difficult to talk about what's going to happen in the United States. The economic uncertainty is of a magnitude which has not really been clearly assessed, but we don't believe it's going to affect our company because our size and our capacity will allow us to continue to think about growing profitably. It's not as relevant for our development, and the tariffs, of course, bouncing from one continent to another as if it were a ping-pong match, as I say. Inflation had begun to stabilize and was on track to normalize in the U.S., awaiting the impact of these new protectionist policies. But a prudential approach has allowed for the market to continue to grow and the labor market as well. It's strong. So in 2025, Mapfre USA will continue to focus on profitability and operational efficiency. We're going to see what the results are of our growth plans fostered by our brokers and our AAA club in the West Coast. And Puerto Rico, a country that has done very well in technical as well as in earnings. And EMEA. 2024 has been a complicated year. The weight of auto in the region has resulted in a negative cycle, especially in Germany. The market there is undergoing a crisis, a very deep crisis. Practically all operators are suffering it. The large, the mid, the small-sized, all of us. We're all looking at the different measures implemented to improve efficiency, and the adjustments to the subscription policies have not been sufficient to deal with those growing costs that result from inflation. We will see the fruits of these measures towards the end of this year. Turkey, however, in 2024 has evolved very favorably. There has been a significant improvement in the combined ratio thanks to those technical improvements and thanks to the ensuing significant increase in profits, fostered, of course, by high rates, despite the fact that this is a country that is exposed to high volatility and high inflation levels. Fortunately, we see that this is on the wane. And let me very briefly talk about another island, Malta. Again, we have done very nicely there. The performance is excellent. Leaders, excellent results in association with our partner, Bank of Valletta, with which we also hope to be able to launch non-life bank assurance insofar as that is possible in that wonderful country. And as to other business units, I would again underscore the excellent results achieved by Reassurance. They have broken all records, premium-wise, earnings-wise. This is very important. And for them, well, we talked about this before, the fact that they have not been affected by very intense events, but I need to underscore the outstanding achievements of the teams. They control risk appetite, which was broadened after the capital increase of 2023, as well as the selection and management of those risks and operational efficiency. It is absolutely wonderful for our group that Mapfre be the 16th reinsurance company in the world, protecting Mapfre companies, developing its majority business, generating capacities for over 1,400 companies in the world, in over 100 countries in the world, enjoying financial strength, as well as having achieved fantastic reputations in all markets after 4 decades of business activities.
Mapfre
It must be underscored that last year Mapfre opened a new financial door, a new coverage instrument, which was a catastrophic bonus, and groundbreaking initiative which was undertaken for the first time in Spain and which will bolster its growth by diversifying its financing. Our goal was to get 100 million through this structure, and it was well met, and we reached up to 125 million euro. But I would also like to underscore that as a reflection of our solvency, our diversification, our group's ambition, Mapfre in 2024 got the approval of the Chinese supervisor to operate as a reinsured company in Beijing. And we've already gotten very important deals with some of the most relevant Chinese insurers. What we expect for reinsurance in 2025 is very positive, as we've seen with the renewals undertaken at the start of this year, although we've seen some increases in premiums in more mature markets, and there's more available capacity. And this has helped Mapfre to install its own retrocession programs, which will help it expand its margins. And the unit actually restructured itself both at a directive and at a structural level, which tackles more ambitious goals with wonderful expectations in the life business and good possibilities for growth in the North American market. We expect that our reinsurance unit will still play a key role in Mapfre's strategic development in the coming years. On the other hand, our global risk unit, Mapfre Global Risks, means we are the only Spanish company that can insure the world's greatest groups anywhere on the planet. 2024 was, again, a wonderful year. We went above and beyond, and we improved their profits. For 2025, Mapfre Global Risks has ahead an increase in their profitable growth, diversifying Latin America even more and other markets by capturing new customers, increasing their premiums, and improving internal operations and service quality. And lastly, I would like to talk about Modi, our help and service unit, which has had a wonderful year, going above and beyond both in income as in earnings, and especially their technical results, which really lays down its reputation. 2025, Modi will keep on improving its value proposal to our customer and keep on growing and striking alliances as the one we've just undersigned with an Italian group, Vittoria Assicurazione, which allows us to enter their shareholder. And finally, Solunion, our company we share with Alliance Trade, is a company specializing in credit and surety, is closing its year by reaching all financial indicators. And in 2024, this was a wonderful milestone because they got an A+ rating from S&P. This means that, well, they have a will for sustainable growth, which the company has held ever since they started working over 12 years ago. Their new strategic plan, Solunion, is leveraging its technology as its asset, and this will be one of the key pillars, along with other 5, which are as important as improving commercial profitability, a more efficient management of resources, talent acquisition, and the development of our surety line of business, and geographic consolidation all over Latin America. And before we talk about our yearly earnings and balance, I would like to thank what the shareholder asked related to our asset management and net worth management at a global level. Mapfre asset management is becoming more and more important to our business strategy, both when it comes to managing our own balance as well as what we do with our customers. We are one of the most relevant institutional investors in Spain, about 60 billion euros under management. Our investment fund and pension plan grew by 5% in 2024, while Mapfre GP, Gestión Patrimonial, Wealth Management, increased by 28% compared to last year, and it's expanding its presence by opening 3 new offices and reaching a total of 13 branches. Our value proposal is based on offering the best investment opportunities to our customers, be it funds, unit-linked, savings, insurance, or annuities. Our philosophy is based on recommending the same assets that we believe are interesting for Mapfre's balance to our customers, and this it gives you a competitive edge. And I also want to highlight our strategic alliance with Avante, our partner in large net worth management, and which is very important to us. We will keep on innovating to improve our value proposal for customers, and we are launching life insurance related to risk capital funds, venture capital funds, which will be very important for the development of private capital. We've got the best possible tools to have the best possible financial planning and to take care of our customers' finances. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now discuss our strategic plan compliance. A year ago, when I presented this new cycle, I told you we would leverage ourselves over our group's key strengths, our financial capability, our excellent service, and our closeness to customer, and taking care of all stakeholders with an ethical and social commitment to the environment and people. These are values, and rejecting them is anathema to us. And, well, we are basing these on 4 pillars, which are as follows: growth and profitability, efficiency and productivity, better transformation, and folding sustainability into our business management. And a year after pitching this, the development of this plan has been very successful. We are bolstering this, and what matters is that this first year we've had all of our public commitments. So we want to confirm our strategic route and our business lines by reinforcing them in order to advance faster and focusing more on the business. Auto, we've got solid growth plans, and while we've made sure that this line of business worked. In companies, we will reinforce our leadership in Spain, and we will export our management to Latin America. Life products devoted to this, savings and investment, especially in Spain. We want to become one of a referent in Spain when it comes to assessment out of banking and reinsurance. We will keep on betting on the key world markets, focusing more on life and increasing our presence in the North American market. And to do so, we are pushing for 7 lines of work: disciplined growth, improving customer experience, transformation of our operational processes to improve our service quality, streamlining of technical processes. We need the best technology with our new REF platform on our new Spanish and German systems. And overall, we're going to invest about 225 million these 3 coming years. Intensive data use, and finally, organizational shift management. And we are developing new initiatives to get ready for the new opportunities we are facing, such as striking new alliances that will help us improve our value proposition for customers, answering the challenges that a longer-lived society entails and new social realities, keep on predicting social impact that new mobility brings, keep on analyzing emerging risks in order to answer our own way by developing public-private partnerships, reinforcing the differentiation of Mapfre within the market, which allows us to present a different offer to our customers. As José Manuel Winchowski mentioned, folding AI into our processes, always with an anthropocentric point of view, ethically, and protecting people. So we want to keep on fostering people's development to reinforce both our productivity and the increase of our connections, real commitment, and measure of success, which reinforces internal meritocracies. We're an ambitious company, especially when we take into account that this is geared towards the company's profitable growth. As we can see, we've committed with all of our public commitments, so we want to restate our goals when it comes to growth, transformation, and sustainability, but we are going to increase our demands in 2 of these. As far as ROE, our public commitment is increased by 1 point to reach an ROE of about 11-12%, and we've got the same for a combined ratio. We want to reduce it by 1 point and to leave it between 94 and 95%. And with all of you, with the firm commitment that we will do everything in our hand to reach these goals. And to wrap up, I would like to talk about some of the changes we've seen on the board. As we know, July last year, having reached the limit of terms, Antonio Miguel Romero de Olano left Mapfre S.A. Mr. Miguel Romero, which was up to that point an external director, he was a vocal of our audit and commitment compliance, our nomination committee, and our risk and sustainability committees. And he's the second vice president of the Fundación Mapfre Foundation. Mr. Antonio Miguel Romero has been with us in Mapfre S.A.'s board ever since it was instituted in 2006 up to last year, and he has been completely devoted to this company, always being a person who was committed to Mapfre's transformation and growth goals. Thank you very much, dear Antonio, for helping us as much as he did. Mr. Miguel Romero was immediately substituted by an independent director, José Luis Perelli, who was chosen by the board itself, and we renewed his post this very same day. And while we already know, there's another very important change as of today, which is, well, our CIO for the last 8 years, although he has been with us for almost 30 years. As soon as this meeting is done, Fernando Mata will be leaving us, and he will finish his executive responsibilities with Mapfre. He will still be with us as an external director and advisor. I would like to join in the thanks we've given Fernando Mata. He's done everything Mapfre has needed of him, and he's been incredibly successful, especially in these last few years where he was director. We must really thank him for everything he's done, which have led to the wonderful path this group has followed, as we've seen in the figures he himself showed us. Thank you very much, Fernando. We will miss you. Next year, you'll have to join us as a shareholder, as long as you're a shareholder. Our new CIO, as we all know, will be José Luis Jiménez. Our new CFO will be José Luis Jiménez. And I'm certain he'll do a wonderful job. José Luis has been in charge of the group's investments, and this last year has been our Deputy Chief Financial Officer. And, well, the dividend we've already announced, which is approved, is not only the largest in history and which has had 3 consecutive increases, but which will keep on as what our shareholder asked. We hope it will keep on growing year on year while the group's results keep on improving. But as you know, we've also approved and onboarded another dividend, which is the participation dividend, which every shareholders will get once the notary can certify we went over that minimum 81% shareholders on this meeting. This dividend will be paid on March 19th on Father's Day, so it'll be a wonderful present for shareholders who want to celebrate, and, well, they might at least pay for their meals with their family there, thanks to their connection to Mapfre. This is obviously a new road Mapfre can follow, so that all of us can try and involve you more in our societal life in the different ways we're doing. The board, different goods and services within the Mapfre Accionista program. Again, I want to thank you for passing these changes and the changes in the board, which, as I said, were very important when it came to having shareholders be more involved in the protection of their interests. By improving this, well, the board will add a collection of changes stemming from regulatory changes which will impact our governance. I would like to wrap up by saying that we've got a solid business model, a profitable business model, which can go over any hurdle and can help us keep on growing by taking advantage of every opportunity. Mapfre is the biggest Spanish insurance company in the world, and we compete with all the heavy hitters in many countries. We've got wonderful diversification and a strong protected balance, which helps with the creation of wonderful earnings with wonderful solvency ratios and good liquidity to face our obligations. As Fernando said, Fitch rated Mapfre SA as an A+, Mapfre LLC, and its children companies, subsidiaries, and they believe that Mapfre can get wonderful profits in 2025 after the corrective measures they've implemented in all of their business areas and geographies. I really want to make it clear that 2024 has been a wonderful year, but by closing this meeting, I can tell you that if one-offs notwithstanding, 2025 will be even better. We'll have better income and better management ratios, and by reinforcing our leadership in the markets and business lines that are most important to Mapfre. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much for your trust. And we hope to see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Muy bien, pues.
Very good then. With these final words, we hereby close this general shareholders meeting. Thank you very much to all, and a very good day. Thank you.
Gracias.